All right, so someone in our live chat already said before we even started the podcast, let the pixel bashing begin.
This is the Pixel Bastion podcast. Let's
I don't think it's going to be a pixel bashing contest
get her started.
podcast, but there is a lot of that going around the internet right now.
Yes.
Chris, you were at the Pixel event, so we will let you kick things off. Tell us a little bit about that.
Pretty interesting. We had lots of leaks ahead of time, so we kind of knew what to expect. And yeah, there kind of was no surprises once we finally everything was said and done and announced. And I feel like maybe that's kind of maybe what skewed people's opinions and such. I don't know. Okay, so let's go with Pixels. Pixels are cool. They are smartphones. They are the first ones to debut with Google Assistant, and that's kind of their big draw right now. That and the really good camera hardware that Google claims they've like completely designed and chosen and just tweaked and stuff, which seems pretty nice on paper. Everything's there. It's 4 gigabytes of RAM. Battery's a little bit on the smallish side. AMOLED displays. I mean, it's a phone. It's a smartphone.
The battery's pretty decent on the XL, though.
Yeah, on the XL.
Yeah, it is.
And that kind of sucks for small phone lovers. Is like we kind of usually get the short end of the stick. So I'm sort of just accustomed to it. If you do want like better battery life, you always got to get these big phones for some odd reason. The phones, I will say, they felt a little cheapish in the hand.
That's not good.
Yeah, apparently
HTC
is manufacturing it, but you won't find any of the branding HTC branding anywhere on the phone or anything like that because Google says they're the ones that have made the phone and tailored it to their exact specifications and stuff. But like they're deceptively light. I feel like when you pick it up, you're like, holy cow, this is like almost like air. And then the aluminum that surrounds it, it just feels very. When you tap on it, it doesn't feel very like solid. It just feels like almost like hollow. Like the inside is just plastic or something, and it's just like they wrap tinfoil around it. So I wouldn't say they feel expensive, but I mean this is Google's phone made by them, and it's the next. It's basically the Nexus. It's Nexus with all of Google's extra fixins and whatnot. They're really fast.
Yeah, well, Snapdragon 821 first phones with that, I believe.
Yeah, so which is kind of weird because on Google's page or whatever, they say like the gigahertz they're only like 2.0 whatever, when like a Snapdragon 821 can potentially go up to like a 2.5 or something according to Qualcomm's page, which is interesting. So they kind of like underclock them down to what a Snapdragon 820 would have been. But I mean, the 821, I'm sure there's other improvements and stuff there as well. But the phones looked cool.
It's basically like Google is now another Android OEM where they actually have their own stuff that they're just going to have on their phones. Just sort of like, TouchWiz phones have their own things that you won't get on any other phone. Google phones are going to have their own things.
I think that's what's kind of confusing people, a lot of people, because they're seeing this as like the Nexus brand is officially dead. This is Google's new thing. And for years, people have been, demanding and like saying, why doesn't Google just make their own phones? And then Google makes their own phones. And then people are like, why don't they make a better phone? And it's like, it's so incredibly frustrating. But what people don't understand is that, yes, this is Google's phone and it's stock Android, but they're showing like all these other manufacturers how to make a skin or how to make a version of Android right. You put all your stuff into it and you make it yours, but you don't have to like change everything around. I mean, they have their own circular icons, which is kind of whatever.
Honestly, I don't even think they care about showing other OEMs like what Android should be anymore. It seems like that's probably what the Nexus was, but I really just think they're like, we're just going to make our own phone. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and it could in a way. It's sort of like a they had to do it, and it's like a direct answer to like the iPhone. I mean, Apple is making their stuff. Nexus. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't just continue with the Nexus, and why they felt like they had to make a separate Pixel and then add more, even more Google stuff in. Um, that part is still a little bit fuzzy.
It's clear to me watching the event that they want to have a phone that is a Google phone because they
Yeah.
kept saying um, Google Assistant is, or Pixel is the first phone to have Google Assistant built in. Like they specifically said built in about a couple software features. Like software is not built in for
Yeah, and
one.
it's kind of like what, like why
They're
not
making a
bring
really big
this?
deal about it.
Why not bring this to more phones? Why not allow, a Google Assistant to work on more stuff? And I mean, if Google Assistant is all that it claims to be, you kind of want this on as many Android devices as possible. So it's just sort of weird that I don't know. They're kind of they want Google Assistant to be successful, obviously, but the fact that they're kind of just like walling it into just Pixel stuff is a little bit odd. And then the only way to get it on other Android phones is through Allo.
Hello, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. Google Assistant seems like it's going to be awesome in the future. I think right now it's a little early, but it's I don't know if that's going to be the biggest draw to even buy a Pixel though. Like I don't, and it seems like that's the only really differentiating factor is like why should I buy a Pixel? It's got Google Assistant built in, but is that like enough? Is that enough incentive?
So after playing with the phones, do you think because the price tag is a big deal. 650 is the X or is the Pixel, and then 770 or something is the XL. Do you think after playing with them that they're worth that price?
Probably not. But for me, I mean, we saw with like Google Glass and stuff. I mean, that was like $1,500, and it's just like with these Google products that
It's
they've
not really
made.
surprised with the Pixel name though, because like the Pixel tablet was expensive, the
Yes,
Pixel laptop. This is a trend. They started with the
yeah. Everything Google has made has been expensive. And it's never really changed. That's what history has taught us. I mean, this isn't even a Nexus phone anymore, and they're not looking, to LG to make this semi high end phone. This is literally made by Google, so I was expecting it to be expensive from the start.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it sells.
I mean, and
this
then
is
Google
just
said they're in this for the long haul. So they're already. What was it? David Burke was saying that he's already testing the next version of the Pixel, next year's Pixel. He's already got it. He's already playing around with it. So that's kind of one of the benefits you see to Google having this control over smartphones. I don't know if it's not fully realized in this generation of Pixels, but I think down the line you'll start seeing more like, oh, okay, I get it. Like with Google making their own processors and having all this extra control over smartphones. This one is just kind of like the first little step. But I mean, I'm going to buy it just because I love Android devices. I need a small awesome Nexus, and I didn't get that with the Nexus 5X. So
Yeah.
I'm like 100% getting the small Pixel.